Big goal I want to get across this week, hip mobility, okay? So too often do we just focus on upper body here, like trying to sit up and pull them down, and this is a very weak motion. When in reality, we should a lot of times really be engaging with our lower body first, okay? So heels down, hips engaged, and doing what we call a knee pull here. If you want to look for an overhook off this, it's a good idea to have at least your wrists on the inside of your partner's wrists. That way we're ready to shoot for an overhook here, okay? So here, as I break his posture, I'm basically bringing him to me now, and you guys see when I have my hands in the middle like this, I'm already ready to punch my overhook, as well as get my collar tie. Again, right here, with him right in front of me, like for example, if I let go of his head and I try to go for something like a triangle, he's gonna posture out of this pretty easily. Yeah, control my leg, get his hand back inside, lots of different things, okay? So guys, what I really want you to focus on as you're doing this is really making big hip motions, okay? We talked about circling our hips out, climbing our legs up, and moving our head away, okay? While that seems easy and it's the right thing to do, honestly, out of everything we're doing this week, that actually might be the hardest thing to do, okay? So guys, this is what I want you to think about. When you break your partner down, eventually we want this all to happen at once, and I'll show you an example of that in a second. Okay? As long as you're not opening your knees here too much, keep your knees engaged. I want you throwing your hips out like you're doing a big hip escape. Okay? That way we have a lot of space to operate here with our legs, but more importantly, when I go to clamp his posture, see, I make that pressure right away versus having to climb and having to fight against him bringing his head back to the middle. You need to time this right or else he's going to get out right away. Guys, especially if you've been here all week, try to hit at least a few where when you bridge and wipe out here, okay? Try to get here, but escape your hips right away, okay? That way we can climb to an advantage, okay? Now right from there, consider that like kind of a checkpoint here, okay? I'm already cutting the angle on him. So from here, what we want to do is isolate his shoulder, all right? So once we get here, a lot of times we'll still have the overhook and the collar tie. What I'll start to look to do, okay, is get my knees past this shoulder to this shoulder. So I'm going to block here, okay? Because what's going to happen a lot is, again, he's going to try to walk his hand and follow me. This is going to help me bring my knee through. I don't care if he grabs it, okay? This knee here, and as I move my head away, you guys see, I climb my knees up to a straight line here. Now, while this is good, there's still further things we can do because he's still going to try to bring his head over. A couple things. I'm going to put my heel over his shoulder here, okay? We are going to do attacks on this arm, so it's also not a bad idea to push his wrist into the pocket, okay? And crunch his elbow to my own leg. But probably the most important thing here, okay? The thing that's actually keeping his shoulder down, okay, isn't my knees. My knees are just holding this in place. It's actually the rotation of my top hip, okay? So start to come up a little bit, please. All right, you guys see? It's clamped, but my hips are out of position. So when I'm here, it's very important to watch my left hip, that I'm rotating it this way. Can you come up now? See, now that's actually pinning his shoulder to the mat. So I'm not just like kneeing him in the back here. When I pull my knees forwards, okay, I keep them pulled forward. So now when he pulls back, see, now watch when I release. Okay, he's gonna move away. So guys, when you're here and you do that pull, don't release the pull, okay? Attach your grips, and then once you have attachments here, you're gonna release the pull to immediately hip escape, okay? So basically what I was saying, where you try to cut your hips out here immediately, okay? So I'm not gonna do this, release, get the overhook collar tie, then hip escape. I'm constantly gonna pull them in with my knees. You guys understand? Like, at least the beginning, a little more fluidly, okay? So hands inside, I bridge up. As I pull him down, again, I'm looking to make big hip movements here, okay? I need to get off of my back ASAP, okay? Or else I'm gonna have a fight on my hands here, and that's when he's always gonna keep like pushing me to my back, okay? So I'm gonna race to get here, okay? Once I get here, I can start loosening up with these upper body grips, start framing here, getting my knees in place. That way we're wedging the shoulder. Getting my foot over the shoulder here. This is all pretty easy at this point. And again, don't let this top hip open, okay? It's not the end of the world. We can still get submissions, but we're sacrificing a lot here. Make sure you're turning this hip down. And at the end of your rep, try to have your partner posture up a little bit. Okay, see? Now I have an effective position here. Okay? So check off all these boxes. Okay? Minor things. Knees in a straight line to clamp the shoulder. Okay? Push this wrist in so we have access to the arm when we go for submissions. And most importantly, internal pressure with that top hip. Does that make sense? Let's say we're in a situation like this. Okay, I show this all the time because I believe it to be one of the most accessible places. Okay? Me personally, I like to play both positions, right? So I like to drag the arm across and get here. Okay, but we kind of have the same problem here where he tries to get his head back this way, and then eventually the arm comes back over. Then you guys see when that happens, we can just start switching to this. Okay? Minor questions here. Just kind of address them really quick. Okay, it's not uncommon that when you're adjusting here and you're playing this position, that especially this bottom leg can drift down, and they'll start to be annoying here and like either push your knee and grab your knee. Let's make that a little more threatening. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then he'll start to do things like step over. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, it's not a big deal if people step over here. This is like, again, another name for this is the Williams guard. We have an overhook like this. This is effective in the half guard too. We're going to go to our later options in class where we go to things like Omoplata. You don't want that to happen in the first place. You know, let's say you're a beginner, you don't really have a good idea of how half guard works yet. Okay. If he goes to push your leg down here, guys, this just goes like push it instead of pulling it. Yeah. This just goes into all the other basics we talk about when we're wrestling and we're guard passing, whatever. Guys, just break his grips. Another thing we can do here is if he pushes off the mat and we're not quite ready to triangle him, remember we did this the last few days as well, we can also try to take the shin bone above the elbow and just kick that arm out as well. Right? So we have a lot of options we can work with here in terms of hand fighting. Okay. Let's say he does build up and his shoulder beats my hip. Okay. This is where I should reasonably start thinking to look for a triangle. Okay. Because he's giving me the space to pull my leg out and around. Okay. What I just did there, it's not unrealistic. It's pretty feasible. Okay, especially at a beginner level. If he tries to explode up here, I'll just throw my leg around his head. But if he's being a little more patient, okay, you can lift your head up again. Okay, especially if you're clamping here, he's not always going to explode up. Okay. Start coming forwards. You see his hand has to come forwards. Okay. So on top of pulling the leg out here, you guys have options with this hand to cover this bicep. And when he comes forwards, I'll stay on this too so I can monitor space for the triangle. All right. Now, again, you guys have a lot of options here, not just for this like we were talking about earlier, but more importantly for this hand. All right. We can go anywhere from the bicep down to the wrist, okay, or the sleeve and the gi. Now if Ulysses tries to walk his hand forwards, I'm going to show you guys a few different ways here to get the leg over. It's going to change depending on your body type, okay? So again, if you're more flexible, you could reasonably just pull it through if he's giving you a triangle. If we're here, this is probably the most common. You'll just push the wrist as you bring this through. Otherwise, if you're bigger and you're like, fuck, I still can't bring my leg through. Once he lifts his hand off the mat, just take it and throw it, okay? I recommend using that last, but some of you are gonna have to do that because you just won't be able to get your leg through, okay? The other option, which we're not really gonna cover, is remember guys, if he ever pushes my knee down or gets his hand on the inside, that's when we can just stuff the wrist and go around the arm that way. We're gonna be doing a lot of different submissions this week, so we're not gonna go in depth on all of them. I'm just gonna give you guys the overview here. So once I have the triangle, again, I'm gonna go flat to my back, get control of the posture, okay? Again, we can finish triangles without bringing the arm across, but for everybody here to be able to do this, I'm gonna recommend that again, you lift your back off the mat and you push this elbow across so it becomes more narrow, okay? Now from here, very important, do not lock flat on your back. See, it's over his shoulder, okay? Pinch your knees and get this hip off center, okay? Once I get off center, I'll pull my shin down. Very important, guys, you get this knee in front of his shoulder, lock nice and high, heels down, knees together. Look, even though my calf is very shallow on my shin bone, it's still gonna make a shearing motion here, so that when I drive my heels down, that's still gonna cut off both sides of the back. Try to avoid putting your foot on the ground. If we're in the triangle, for example, say we get all the way over here, okay? especially if you guys aren't controlling the arm, just rip your arm out. Happens a lot in triangles, right? Versus this. How about now? Try to step up too. From here, you guys want a little extra attention in the gi today, play with that belt grip, okay? Then clamp your knee to your own elbow here. And try to see if your partner can pull their arm out. See, if he's pulling me with him like that, that means I'm good and attached, right? Now, he's gonna try to bring his head back to the middle in posture. When he does, I frame here, get my leg through, cross up, okay, flat to my back. Hips up, push the elbow across, control the head. Remember guys, don't stay flat. Hips off line, pull your shin down, knee in front of the shoulder, and lock this knee as high up your leg as possible. Try to stay off of your foot. Okay, here. Sorry. So, everything we're doing here isn't tight enough. Most of the time, especially if you compete, you're gonna do this anyways, okay? So you do everything you usually do here. Step on the hip, touch your hip off center, wipe this down nice and tight, grab your shin, okay? And then we get here. Obviously in drilling, this is important to get a tight triangle, but something that's gonna be even tighter here is when we get that perpendicular angle. And you can really do that a few different ways, okay? If he's like this, sitting on his heels nice and tight, you can always grab the armpit, lock up here, and then back heel to finish. But the big one is whenever people drive forwards, underhooking the leg, which is arguably better because that pulls you further under the body. And then here, not only does that make the choke tighter, but it controls his lower body. So some of you were locking your legs this way. It's inferior if you're trying to choke them, okay? But locking the triangle on the wrong side is very good for other things, especially like upper body submissions. Like this is probably one of the tightest ways that you can kimura somebody. Get a lot of questions about the triangle armbar too. So like if Tim's elbow's wide, okay, that's another reason to push the elbow across. Like if I try to straighten his arm here while his elbow's wide, it's very difficult, okay? So whenever like people start to pull away, if you push that elbow in, right? So from here, okay, we get that same position, all right? Now we always need to pay attention to this side of his body, right? Like I was saying earlier. If Tim does not make an effort here, or like a big motion to try to get up off before, even if I want to triangle him, you see my bottom leg is kind of stuck. That's not the best option if he stays down here, okay? So, one thing we can choose to do right away instead of playing guard here is build height, okay? If he keeps his head down and I can bring my head higher, it's always gonna be a reasonable option to try to get on top here. Now, we're getting on top in this weird tangled position, okay? We still have this arm inside of our armpit. This is gonna be one of the best places to go for an arm bar off the overhook. It's gonna lead to that lat style arm bar again, okay? So guys, really quick to get up. In the same motion that I brought my knees, I wanna bring my elbows in too, like this, okay? For the integrity of the submission, do not bring your elbows past the line of like the front of your chest, let's say. Okay, so not back here, right? Here. Okay, this is gonna make sense in a second. So from here, I'm gonna use this to get up to my elbow and my forehead. You guys see when I don't move my elbow, his wrist catches in the perfect spot, right? When I do this style of arm bar, I wanna be on the heel of the hand here, no higher. It's kind of like a heel hook, okay? If I go on the hand, it's gonna slip out, okay? Right there. So whenever you do this, if you're like standing above, the person observing should be able to see your partner's whole hand here, okay? Now, as I do this, look at my grip. I'm gonna get a palm up grip on his tricep, okay? Like any other arm bar, I wanna rotate his thumb. When we do regular arm bars, where we're on top, the thumb's up, okay? Since we're inverted, the thumb will be down here. When you do this, you'll feel a lot of tension run through your partner's arm. Now, once I do that, I'm very slowly gonna go fully belly down. I'm gonna pinch my top knee in, that's my left knee. That's gonna make a lot of pressure on the elbow here. Before I finish the next one, let me show you like probably the most common problem here. Okay. All right, so we're doing everything the same, getting our knees in that straight line, clamping, okay? Guys, we're not going for an omoplata right now, so Like if I don't do this first, if he punches his arm straight, see it goes right to my left. I don't care, right? I'm only gonna care if I choose to go for an omoplata. We'll talk about that next, okay? So right from here, elbows tight. Try not to bring it past the line of your chest here, okay? Then as you come up, you guys see, if I try to follow that guideline, it always sets to the perfect spot here. Now let's look at what happens if you guys start to bring your elbow back too high. Okay. Jason, you think you can pull your hand out?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Now look at when I stay at the heel of the wrist. How about now? Look, no hands. Go ahead. See, it's stuck. So guys, do not lock this on his hand. Stay on the wrist. Rotate. Try to make his thumb go down. What you should feel though is a lot of tension running through the arm. That's where this becomes very dangerous, so be careful, okay? Now from here, as I make that chicken wing lat grip, okay, that's what's torquing his arm, I'm gonna send pressure through the joint by pinching this knee in. A lot of times we go from here, get that lat grip, come up, you get all the way up here, and then very similar, I post my head, I hook here, start to pull to my hip, and we find ways to pull his legs over to get to a normal armbar, right? Yeah, we get here, I start to build up and come over, okay? Let's say either I can't finish him, or even worse, I did this too much and I lost his wrist, okay? Guys, right here, we could just scoop the arm, and literally just do the same thing, okay? If we ever get here and we lose this arm, and we don't feel comfortable rolling over the top and we just want top position, guys, just continue to build height and we can look for ways to take us back. What usually ends up happening is when you're in this spot and you go to hip escape, he just follows you, right? And this happens, okay? You guys really need to disconnect this left hip, okay? So I know I said like don't post this leg wide, but that doesn't really apply to the hip, okay? Like I want to get all the way up here. Okay, follow me now. Again, like I said during the first drill, we want this to be a normal omoplata orientation. So definitely make sure you're doing this time and just holding the elbow, okay? Now from here, I want to just pass this foot over his head and reform that clamp. Now, just like I said about the triangle, it'll go down like that sometimes, don't get me wrong, but there's problems here. With the triangle, it was his hand. With the omoplata, it's his head, okay? So when I go to pass my foot, this is what he's probably gonna do. He's gonna bring his head in the same direction, and it's hard to get this foot over. So guys, good news here, you have a free hand. Actually, if you do this well, you have 2 free hands, okay? Just focus on pushing his head away, stiff arming, okay? It's just a buffer, okay? There's also another reason why I want you guys to get on your side. Okay, I really don't like seeing people here where they're tugging on their own leg, and then you guys give yourselves knee injuries. It's not good, okay? This is much more mechanically sound, all right? So pushing here, carrying the foot over, knees in a straight line. This is where you really hold an omoplata, because look, his shoulder's still dropping. Don't be in a rush to do shit like this. See, the shoulder comes up immediately. I want to stay in positions where I can always keep that shoulder down, okay? We're not going to talk about the actual submission today, okay? Let's look at another option for getting on top. This is a very strong option right here, because now my whole body is connected to the shoulder, okay? So if I go to sweep Ulysses with this and he doesn't follow me here, there's a very good chance he's going to get injured. So if you're in his spot, you need to be comfortable doing a forwards roll, because I'm about to torque his shoulder with my entire body. So guys, the cool thing is like you're literally doing the same thing you did for the inverted armbar or the lat armbar here. Draw in, come up. You don't have to put your head on the mat, but you're gonna feel your left hip get really tight to that shoulder and force him to roll. And of course here, we can go back to a year or 2 ago. We have all of our stupid armbar, monoplata, stuff like that. Again, not really gonna get too deep into that this week, okay? If you remember any of that and you wanna review it, feel free. Otherwise, we've just swept, okay? This is 2 points. You can just block the head and hip and secure a top position here however you want. Okay. For the omoplata, it's not just for the submission, but the entire position. Again, guys, before you think even about doing the submission or the sweep, okay, make sure your knees are together here. Do that same demonstration. Okay, I'm gonna go really slow, all right? Try to straighten your arm and pull it out. Now watch when I just misalign my knees a little bit. How about now? Just by taking my knees out of the straight line. Okay. Now let's look at that again. Now look when I complete the sweep with my knees in a straight line here. Okay, go ahead. Pull your arm out. See, it's wedged. Guys, eventually this will be its own class. This is where we go through the main omoplata submissions. Okay. So from here, not losing the pin on the shoulders, straighten, feet this way, screw the lid. Down. Here, he pushes off the ground again. Omoplata here, sorry. If he starts to swing more backwards in a lot of scenarios here, go up the shoulder, move this up, put off to the side. Okay. This time we're trying to bring the foot over. Okay. Make sure the wrist is tucked into the pocket here. Okay. We don't want his arm to get too straight. Okay. Remember, as you're bringing the foot over, there's a very good chance he's going to bring his head this way. So you can use at least one hand here to stiff arm the head so it's easy to bring your foot over. Okay. Both knees in a straight line so we're not losing the clamp on the shoulder here. Cannot lose this elbow. All right. Let's do one where you don't roll with me. All right. This is what's going to happen. Okay. It's a full body Kimura, guys. So Ulysses needs to roll here if I'm doing this right. Okay. People were asking me about the omoplata sweep that I usually show, where like Ulysses starts to posture up, getting here, right, doing that log roll where we bring him over. It's his shoulder, guys. Okay. In order to do that sweep, I need to release that control of the shoulder. That's why I don't do that up here first. Okay. So if I start to get to a more dynamic omoplata position, and he allows me access to an underhook on the leg, yeah, that's when I'll do more of the log roll omoplata sweep. Okay. So whenever you do this one, look at my foot. Okay, pull your arm out. See, it just catches there. Okay. Guys, the stupid armbar, it can work here. Okay. But if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna recommend that you get more parallel so there's a better fulcrum here. Okay. Same with the wrist lock. Sorry. Here we still have lifelines to the omoplata, so if you guys remember, we can roll sideways. And a lot of times I'll bring this back. Just everything really back. Okay. This is actually one of the places where it's appropriate to choke somebody with a wrong side triangle. Okay. But of course, if we wanted to, we could lift the head and switch to the right side mounted triangle like we did in the past. Even though I love triangles, going to the monoplata series here. Okay. This being the monoplata. His arm straightens the spiral armbar, or the lat style armbar. Or sometimes even deeper into the monoplata system, where if you're a little more flexible, you can hit go platas. Here, and he slips his elbow to the middle. Okay, that's where this kind of turns it into an Americana, and we can make different grips here to put pressure into the elbow. Okay, this is going to complement a little bit of what we're doing in no-gi this week. We're going to start off the same way we did last week. Let's assume he's grabbing our belt. We're going to start off with that second grip break we did. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross grip his sleeve. Okay, I'm going to lift my hips up and get wrist to wrist, and I'm going to fold my wrists here like I'm revving a motorcycle. Now to break his grip, I'm going to drive my feet to the floor and push this straight up to strip. Okay? I'm going to train you guys again to develop a really strong knee pull. Okay? So this would be full range of motion. Okay? So from here, I would recommend letting go of your own wrist and actually trying to bring your arm over your own head. Okay, this looks awkward. It's going to feel awkward, but try to get your arm back. Okay, you can even let go of the overhook. See, it's a pretty good grip. All right? Now from here in the gi, what we can focus on doing, okay, is once we get the overhook secure here, is actually letting go and opening this collar to make a deep collar grip here. Okay. So I'm not huge on cross collar chokes. Okay. maybe a controversial opinion. They're kind of low percentage, okay? But this is a very good place to go for one because we have so much control. Okay, that's usually the problem with them is control. So we're gonna go for what we call a punch choke. So this is gonna be a basic cross collar choke just with an overhook. So I'm gonna put my 4 fingers in this side too, okay? And I'm gonna keep my fingers extended so I have more of my hand to press into his neck here, okay? So I'm not like making a fist. Okay, you see my palms kind of open. Now from here, as I'm doing all of this, I wanna be cutting to the side and making an angle, especially for this choke. This gives me more space to apply it, okay? So from here, to finish the punch choke, what I'm gonna look to do is actually pull his collar down as I lean my body to my right and literally drive this in, okay? All right, so we hit our grip break. Again, don't get me wrong, it's not wrong to go here, but it is a little more shallow. Like when I pull him forwards like this, he's gonna wanna pull away. Right, okay? So I'm gonna recommend if you really wanna develop this, get a big motion, okay? The same way I broke the grip, lift your hips and really drive your knees forwards. Okay? You see I get a much tighter connection here. I have his wrist behind my head, I have a deep overhook, and now from here, once I cinch this, I can start to let go. Pull your arm out. See, it's a good connection. So, here for the punch choke, okay? Hand in the collar here, and then I like to turn to the side to go for the punch choke, okay? Pulling the collar down as I turn towards my right, and so this is pulling, this is pushing. It's like a shearing motion.